controversy as to where it should be.
You think? You never knew that?
No,
Oh, boy. There's people that still remember that to this day.
really?
Yeah.
Remember what?
The controversy issue versus Lake Mills versus Forest City, of where the courthouse should be.
Oh, really? Should have been Thompson. That would have settled it.
Yeah.
Settled the county, Senator County, right? Huh. Bricks were made from the Pitkin Pit in South Forest City. All the horses. Cost of the building, $20,000.
Positive history.
Okay, so the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, Dave.
Morning. Excuse me, Maynard, you still live in Waseca?
Yes.
My daughter just called me and said a police officer was shot up there last
I
night.
heard that was on national
Really
news.
dead?
Oh, they didn't.
Shot in the face. They airlifted him someplace.
He's up in Robbinsdale.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on national news this morning.
Was it?
No, I didn't see that.
It was on Fox.
I must have missed that part.
There's supposed to be a news release today at 10.
He knows a lot of those guys, you know, because the airport's municipal, so he goes to meetings.
Okay. He said this guy's, the cop's dad was a 30-year Elber Lee veteran.
Hmm.
So, anyway, just,
And this was in Waseca, you said?
and I was pretty sure that's where Maynard was, so that's why I asked you about it.
He used to go to Waseca all the time, what was it, Herders? Yep.
Yep.
He used to get gun reloaded, the shotgun shell for track shooting.
Yeah, first snow.
That was there, right?
Yep.
Brown lights. I'll make a motion to approve minutes in the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Motion Senator and a second from Derby to approve the minutes in the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, 9 AM, I guess we'll have to,
You know, I think I just saw him drive by down Main Street. I think.
I'm trying to figure out where you can get in the
I
building.
think that's probably correct.
Long walk from Sally's.
how do you know him?
He was driving a Carson County Social Services.
Oh.
That's the only thing. Yep, here he is now. How you doing, sir?
Morning, guys.
Morning.
Morning, Carla.
Good morning.
You're up, Bob.
Oh, you got me right on, right at 9, okay.
We'll give you a chance to catch your breath here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You betcha.
You bet.
You bet. So I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. Just want to go through the annual report. This is for the period for fiscal year 2019. This is our mandated report to the department each year by December 1st, showing what we expended our money on and the services provided. And then I can talk to you a little bit about what we have planned going forward, but I'm sure most of your questions might be around the transition and how we can facilitate that successful movement to Northwest Care Connection. So very excited that that option is available to you, and we want to make that a successful change. What I highlighted in the annual report on page 3 Obviously, this is our letter from our chair, Janine Tullen, really highlighting our focus this last year has really been in becoming one employer. And that's really the thing that's got our energies focused right now. We're still setting up Tyler software. We're moving completely out from under Butler County, where we'll have our own fiscal agency, we'll have our own payroll. So hopefully we will soon be able to cut checks, pay our providers, and make our payroll on January 17th. But it was a lot more challenging than we had envisioned. And loading the software is typically a 6 months to a year transition, and we've been trying to do it with about 6 weeks implementation. So some natural pressure there. Also, we had our first legislative forum, had a really good turnout with 16 legislators there. That now has kind of become a standard throughout the other regions, are pulling their local legislators in, and I think we're doing a much better job of letting them know our challenges and opportunities. Our primary legislative issue this year was trying to get the state to move on allocating some funding and reduce that property tax burden. One of our primary issues that I hope you'll share going forward, and it's one of the challenges that Northwest Care Connections has, is House File 504 finally relieved the dollar cap of the individual counties. And so within our region, we had 2 or 3 counties that couldn't levy the same amount as the other counties. Well, House File 504 lifted the dollar cap, and so each region now has a dollar cap. And so we have a $43.65 cap. But as you experienced in Northwest Care Connections, just because of historical reasons, they've got a $30 cap. And that doesn't make any sense, to have a statewide system and have regions with 2 different capacity to levy. So what we would like to see is the state move to one per capita.
Why would that be unnecessary?
What's that?
You said unfortunately.
And unfortunately, it doesn't make sense that one area of the state would be limited on their ability to tax, and then another one would have a greater ability to tax.
That's based on their past levy.
If they could provide the services for $30, why change it? But if they can't raise it any higher.
Right.
No, and one of their concerns in taking us was the fact that the levies weren't going to be high enough to especially make up the ground that Kasuth is behind.
So when we bring our 3 in, they can't account for what our levies were in their formula?
Well, you do have the opportunity in this transition year. You can set your levy up to our current cap of $43.65 and collect that your first year with Northwest Care Connections. But then after you're with Northwest Care Connections, then you'll be subject to their cap. If the state doesn't change it. I think where we're really seeing the pressure is Polk County. Polk County is at about $30 as well, and they just can't deliver the services any longer at their cap. Scott County, you may have heard they're having to cut services again because of that inequity. So all of
Why
this.
don't they change it? They can change it.
No, it's a state cap. So the state.
It seems silly to have that where a county can't, if they need to, in Northwest Care Connections, they haven't needed to have a higher cap. But if they did, they don't have the right to raise it without going to the state. The state has to pass legislation first.
Right. And I do think this is the year that the legislature will look at putting some dollars into the system. They've passed some significant mandates. House File 2456 requires a standardization of services across the state by July 1st of 2021. So, and I think the fact that the state is in a little bit better financial situation. So that's very hopeful.
They haven't provided any funding source for any of that yet, have they?
No.
They call unfunded mandates, which they are in violation of their own code because of that.
That was the argument we presented at the legislative forum. Larry Vest had, Tama County had retained an attorney to actually present that argument. And so as a board, we had kind of, Larry's position was drawing the line in children's services, which is the new mandate for July 1st. And he thought that's where we should really push. And I think that's part of the pressure that the legislator's feeling too. They're expecting us to do children's services July 1st, but again, there wasn't any money allocated for
July 1st of this year.
This year, yeah. So then to move through this fairly quickly, unless you have questions, on page 4, it shows how we account for the dollars spent. What you see there is a number of folks that received that specific service. So the first line, psychotherapeutic treatment outpatient, 556 people received some kind of financial assistance for talk therapy. And then across the top, you see how we categorize it by diagnosis. MI stands for mental illness, ID stands for intellectual disability, DD, developmental disability, BI, brain injury. And then below that, there's subcategories for adults and children. And so you can see that there are a number of children that we do fund services. And again, County Social Services has always tried to cover anybody that met our eligibility criteria regardless of their age. The other categories that are discretionary as well is the DD, developmental disability. That's not a mandated covered group. And brain injury is not a mandated covered group, but County Social Services has always provided coverage for that population. And then the last column shows those folks that we served under our iStart program. If you flip to page 6 then, it shows you what the total unduplicated count is. So for our region, we touched 4,786 individuals throughout the region. That's a little bit over 1% if you want to think it in terms of penetration rate. So this is a small number of folks relatively, but with some complex needs. And if you go to page 7, then you see that same chart, and instead of counts, number of people served, it shows the number of dollars used. So going back to that mental health outpatient therapy, for that 560 people, we spent $262,252 for that group of folks for that service. So again, we try very hard to attach every dollar that we spend to the individual that received the benefit to the service that they received to give a good account. On page 10, it shows our, kind of getting back to the per capita, shows our total expenditures for last fiscal year, which was $13,334,000. That's in relationship to 2 years ago when our expenditures were nearly $22 million. So through our reorganization and our quadrant teams, we've been able to move folks under their, more effectively move them under Medicaid, and off of our long-term funding, we continue to focus on those gap services. So in a per capita perspective, we came in at about $29-30 per capita for this fiscal year. We were the second lowest region under the Northwest Care Connections. That was, I think, $27-28 per capita. On page 11, then kind of rolls those numbers up for you in terms of fund balance. We started FY19 with $23.9 million. We spent $13.3. So our accrual fund balance, and this relates to you in the transition. So for last year was $10.6 million. So if you had transitioned out July 1st, then you would have taken with you your population percentage of that $10.6 million. Does that make sense? So now in the transition, I know Northwest Care Connections is anxious to know what this number will be June 30th, but it will only be a projection. My sense is, giving where our expenditures are now, I know it won't be lower than this, and my guess is it'll be at least $1 million more. So I think if you used $11.6 million for your projection, there would be plenty of cushion there. But we'll continue to have those conversations, and if we can get a better number. But I also want to make you aware that when we talk about accrual fund balance, this is a number we did not know until December. And Carla can explain all the reasons why that is. We will have a cash fund balance at the end of the year, but then we have to clear out all the expenses that were associated with that period of time and all the revenue. So that's what accrual is. It's fixing your expenditures to the date that the service was provided, not when it was paid for. And so the fact that we become our own fiscal agent does give us a little bit more flexibility to maybe calculate that number sooner. But when our member counties do it, you have the December 1st deadline for getting your accrual balances. So I hope that makes sense, what I'm saying. So again, I don't have any reason to think it would be anything less than 11.6 million going into the next fiscal year. So whatever your percentage population, and I should have calculated that for you, but well, we could do that from page 12. Gives you, let's see. So Winnebago is at 10,631. So whatever percentage that 10,631 is of 460,000.
It's about 2.3.
2.3. So 2.3 of that 11 million would be how much you would take with you then.
So how does it work with the assets?
Well, that's a good question, and I saw that in the letter from the attorney. The assets really aren't of any significant value, so I don't see that being an issue. We were really more concerned in the transition that we identified the appropriate insurance coverage for them. So when you talk about computers, after you buy them, they're pretty much, depreciated. So this will come back to this ESS board, but my recommendation would be anything that's being used here would stay here. There would be no benefit of taking any assets.
What other assets does CSS have?
Not much. We have office equipment and cars, and probably a handful of cars, and that's not the case here.
No computers or anything like that.
Well, the computers, but again, it wouldn't be worth moving.
No, by far the lion's share is this fund balance.
Yeah. So again, it's not worth, and even copiers and printers, if you start moving them, you're wrecking them. So we wouldn't take anything in that transition. Good morning.
I don't want to interrupt you, but we need you to
Oh,
sign
sure.
it. Federal stuff.
You bet.
Thank you.
You betcha. So again, yeah. Any other questions on the assets? The next few pages, I was going to, on page 12, and you're probably well aware of this. Again, all the counties were levying at the same amount, with the exception of Kasuth, which levied at 21.25, and then the agreement that we signed with them for the 310,000 approximately, that catches them up on the levy deficit for this year and the previous year. And so they levied at 4365 this current year. So that amount above the 3518 will spend that down, and then whatever their fund balance is, we'll deduct the balance from that, and they will be in good standing moving forward. Page 18, 19, and 20 talks about the iStar program. The iStar program is a specialized mental health program we provide to folks that have a developmental disability and a mental illness. It's a very complex subset of individuals. We've only served 175 folks in this program, but you see on page 19, 76% of the referrals are due to aggression. And so these are individuals that are challenging themselves, their family, and their providers. And the iStar team is to give that additional capacity to serve those folks in the community. We were subject of a independent research study that showed that the folks in this program reduced their use of inpatient psychiatric hospitalization and emergency departments because of our iStart interventions. And then last month we just launched this program in the East Central region, and so now we will be serving over half of the Iowa counties with the iStart program. And then by us expanding it and serving other regions, that reduces our cost of some of the overhead and clinical component. So real proud of that team. Long term, we hope we can get this program approved by Medicaid so it can be available to everybody in the state.
You combine any of these reasons on one person?
Say again.
Okay, you got aggression, 76%. Did they self-injurious behaviors? Can they fall under that too?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Yeah, in many cases, it's like I said, very complex, multi challenges, and their diagnosis can be oftentimes autism is one of them, and then if you add generalized anxiety or schizophrenia to that, then you really have some difficult illnesses to support. Okay. On page 22, we talk about the pathway to community. This is a program that we continue to reduce our RCFs. Over the last 5 years, County Social Services has closed or downsized 5 residential care facilities. That's all driven by the community standard for Medicaid, which says that if you have a facility with more than 16 beds, you're considered an institution and you can't bill Medicaid. Once you're down below 16, then you're considered community-based and you can bill Medicaid, and then that's what allows us to leverage our dollars. Our last RCF in the region is Prairie View, and we're getting ready to initiate a downsizing for them as well, which will essentially buy down those beds, which will move that long-term obligation onto the MCOs and away from county property tax dollars. The transition program down the bottom talks about our transition specialist, Monica Paulson. She spends her days visiting with hospitals, anybody stuck in an inpatient psychiatric unit needing to move back in the community. She'll facilitate them moving into the crisis center in Waterloo or Fort Dodge, hooking them up with their care coordinators and getting them back to the community. There's some good stats there in terms of subacute average length of stay per county, referral outcomes. So anyway, just some good data, and that's really been a program that when we first started it, She served less than 200. This year, she's on track to serve over 400 folks. She also works with the corrections, with prisons, people coming out of the prison, making sure they're connected with resources so that they can be successful in the community. On page 25, it talks about our pilot program with the Mason City Police Force. We're very excited about this collaboration. This really changes our perspective from our long history of working with the Sheriff's Office on people that have been civilly committed or people that have been incarcerated. And that's a good relationship to have, but what we find is it's really hard to have much impact on folks at the point that they're in the system. We know that people with chronic and persistent mental illness serve longer jail sentences than the general population because of the complexity of their mental illness. So what we've done in this program is we've embedded a social worker with the police force. And one of the most jarring statistics we discovered working with Chief Brinkley was 70% of the calls for service were from county social service clients. And what that means is we know the people that the police force are going out to respond to. They're people that have additional resource needs. And it charges us with being there with the police force, so they're not the only social resource that these folks have. So this was, because of our work here, we did get a $480,000 grant from the Department of Justice to continue to figure out how best to support the police work and making sure people are better served. But this puts our response at the point of the 911 call instead of the back end. I guess that's the point I'm trying to make. After the court has been involved, we're out there on the first call, and hopefully we can make a difference. Page 26, it just talks about our utilization program that, again, was very responsible for driving down our cost and making sure people were getting the full benefit of their Medicaid coverage. Page 31 talks about the Assertive Community Treatment Team. We now have two. Assertive Community Treatment Team is essentially, it's been called a hospital without walls. You have a prescriber, you have a nurse, you have a substance abuse counselor. Instead of being in the hospital, they're in the community and they serve a designated population. We started this program in Waterloo. We're currently serving 80 individuals in that area. We have one in Fort Dodge, and under House File 2456, we still need to launch one in Mason City and one in West Union. So when we get the one up and going in Mason City, that obviously will be accessible to folks in Winnebago County as well. And again, when we talk about closing residential care facilities, this is the primary support that we envision will replace that need. Instead of having to go someplace to get the service, we'll be able to bring the service to people's homes. So that's very, very exciting. House File 2456 mandates that we have 22 of these teams throughout the state. Okay. And then the last page just talks about our collaboration with the Brain Injury Alliance. June Klein Bacon, we provide her office, and then she embeds with us, and then she provides consultation and outreach to our region. So that's the annual report. Questions?
What is the iStart team costing?
So the iStart, I think the current budget is running about $800,000 a year. What we've done to, again, try to move that into a Medicaid reversed system and to get collaboration from the other regions, we moved to a monthly fee for service. So now we started out with a prospective rate, So currently, we're identifying that cost at $800 per month per client, per member per month. So anybody enrolled would be $800 a month.
How much are the salaries for all the iStart employees?
Well, so it varies. The coordinators, the folks that are kind of the first responders and work most directly, they come in at our kind of our starting social service rate, about $20 an hour. Our executive director, I think, is about 65, 70,000, and then we have a clinical director that's probably in the 50 to 60,000. And then the prescriber, who does an amazing job, Amber Lucina, and she's also the prescriber for the crisis center. We pay her on a retainer. We pay her on an hourly basis. We pay about $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and then she staffs all of the clients. We just started another contract that we're very excited about with the University of Iowa for the psychologist out of the University of Iowa, so that she can consult on the cases as well. The University of Iowa has a specialized inpatient unit for this same population, and so we're connecting with them so that they can do the good inpatient work, and then when the person comes back to the community, we can make sure those programs and those interventions that were put in place will continue with our service provider. We've got a great working relationship with Mosaic, and what we found is that if we provide this type of support to our providers, we find that the providers are more willing to take more challenging folks, because that's always the trick. If we take this person with these problems, who's going to be there to help us? And that's what iStart is designed to do. Center for START is a national program. They're just launching in New York. They're starting work in California and Colorado. They've got some programs started in Texas. So it is an evidence-based. In everything we do, we feed into the national database. And then the data that they collect at the Center for START at the University of New Hampshire, then they use that to generate research to inform us how to better support folks. So there's no question, to your point, there's no question it's an expensive service, but you have to remember that these folks, their daily support can be upwards of $600 to $700 a day, just to support them in the community. So in relative terms, we're adding that clinical piece, again, that they otherwise would have to be inpatient or be in a facility to access. We're bringing that to the community.
How many total employees are involved in the iStart team?
It's a good question. So we currently have one, we try to have one coordinator per, well, when a coordinator starts, before they're certified, we try to keep their caseload to about 12 to 14. When they're fully certified, when they complete their training, then we can move them up to about 20 or 22 would be about a maximum caseload. And then, so we have I think we have about 4 coordinators within our region. Then we have the program director, clinical director, and then the two contracted clinicians. Makes sense.
And this 65 number enrolled for that, or totally served, that's for all the counties, right?
Right. The 175 is for all. Yep. Everybody in the program.
Going back to my first question on that, if they have multiple, like aggression, decreased functionality, you know off the top of your head, you don't have to look it up, but I mean, how many people like have 3 or more, 4 or more amongst these categories?
In terms of behaviors or
behaviors?
Well, I would say they probably all do. So again, something. The only reason for somebody to be referred to iStart.
And how do they get referred?
So mostly through their case managers, we're having more providers making referrals as well, and families. And that's what would really be neat, is if, what the national research shows us, and the national use of iStart, is if we have good services in place, families will keep their loved ones home longer. But what we find is families just get overwhelmed with the complexity and the resources that they need. And then we have these emergency placements or out-of-home challenges. If families are well supported, the whole system can save money. The family can stay intact. So that's the ultimate outcome of providing this, what we call community capacity. So I appreciate that question.
Somehow I got the number in my head that, iStart team at one point was costing us about $1.5 million a year.
Oh, no, never.
All the salaries and stuff like that.
No.
Never been.
No. The only program that would have been in that ballpark, the Crisis Center was running us about $1.2 million. And what's really exciting about our Crisis Center in Waterloo, that will then become the Access Center. Have you heard that term? Everybody's throwing it out now because it's part of the legislative mandate. There have to be 6 access centers in the state by July 1st of 2021. All an access center is a point certain that law enforcement or individuals can go and know that they will be assessed and served without waiting or being transported across the state. But our crisis center in Waterloo that we started in 2012 at a cost of about $800,000 to $1.2 million is now costing us about $250,000 or $20,000 to $30,000 a month, because Medicaid is finally paying for folks there. So we're finally seeing a return on our investment, and that's saving us a lot of money. It's really become a great step down from the hospital to using the subacute level of care. So we're pleased with that. Yeah, I don't know where the 1.5 came from, but when we present the budget in January, we'll have a separate budget for the iStart program. So it won't be in the larger budget. You'll see it pulled out. Okay. Okay. Very good. Well, I appreciate the time, the opportunity to serve Winnebago.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good week.
Yes, they sure do.
Okay, well, then skip number 3 and go to number 4. Scott Winters, engineer, will discuss secondary road matters.
We don't have anything to discuss in general. Just what's on the agenda, I guess.
Did you ever get a chance to talk to Joe Myrie or anybody on what qualifies under urban renewal?
Did I? No.
We'll have to probably get that identified if we have to expand our area. Qualify things.
Yeah. Okay. What's the best way to go about that? I guess I don't know, Joe.
Yes, we were talking about it. I got paperwork from Joe this morning.
That pertains to later in the agenda, right? Yeah. It was brought up at our Windward Petco meeting yesterday that he's working with Worth County too.
Sure.
And they might have to expand their urban renewal to cover the whole county.
Okay.
Only thing that he added to the urban renewal area is the courthouse
Okay.
at this point.
And in talking to Joel, freshman member, didn't he say you just as well wait and do amendments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else for secondary roads? I had nothing. Okay, number 5, consider for approval temporary easement for bridge replacement project Eden Township, section 26, or 29.
This is one of three, but we'll need for 2 different bridges on 70th Avenue, northwest of Thompson. The FM funded bridge projects that we plan to build this summer. These are just temporary easements, so pretty straightforward. They expire at the end of the project. They're just permission to use land around the projects for the contractor to work.
Make that a motion.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Sedra, second from Derby, to approve the temporary easement for bridge replacement project Eden Township, section 29. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
The
All right.
third page is just a signature block for you, and then Carla will need to notarize it.
So you're the notary public, and I must be the approved by it.
Yep.
I'll do it later.
All right. Okay, number 7, consider for approval construction evaluation resolution. Oh, no, I already crossed it off because I was going to get them. Consider for approval fiscal year 2021 salaries for county engineer's office.
Right.
that a Freudian slip? No, it was just I already crossed the line through 6 because I was going to announce it. And, so then I just went down to the next number.
Uh-huh.
This is the memo from last week updated with figures, comparables. Sent this out, emailed this out to you this week.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it yet.
Well, I'll put my 2 cents in. I don't know how we can deny it in light of the way we've been treating salaries, so. That's my opinion.
Well, I wanted to make sure that it was justified. And I guess he's got some information here that supports that. So I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 salaries for the county engineer's office.
Second that.
Motion Derby, second from Stenzer, to approve the fiscal year 2021 salaries for county engineer's office. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now, number 7, consider for approval construction evaluation resolution.
Pass the second one.
Is anyone going to, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the construction evaluation resolution.
Second. Motion Derby, second from Stenzer, to approve the construction evaluation resolution. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Those don't have to be stamped, do they?
Carlo, grab this from you
You want
sometime.
me to sign it real quick? And then I'll make a copy for you.
Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters. kinda got it memorized.
This is Chris.
We're ready for you.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the reports. You gotta be somewhere, Mike? I just think those reports are so interesting.
I guess there hasn't been a real record of them tonight, so.
Morning.
Morning.
Well,
Do you have anything for us?
You
Not
could
since
just,
Thursday.
you could just well say that on the phone and, I mean, we like
Well,
to
I
see
don't
your
know.
face.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything.
Oh,
yeah, you
Yeah.
never know, yeah.
I talked to Don Mathis yesterday about that DD 14 and the
Mhm.
pipe coming in. He said it's about 5 feet from the ditch in.
Okay.
And they went over it with the combine last year and it just,
Mm-hmm.
it's right at the end of the harvest.
So is Helgeson gonna do it?
Yeah, right now it's all covered up by.
Oh,
snow and
right,
stuff, so
but they will at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I told him I'd get back to him on exact location in case he wanted to go out and dig it up. It might be at a splice, who knows, if it's a 25-foot pipe, or it might be a splice right there.
Okay.
That I told apart.
Okay.
But otherwise, if it's rotten, we need to replace it.
Mhm.
So, just don't want to put a lot of engineering into it.
No.
Did you hear the story from Hancock County? They have a project down there, $97,000 worth of work, and there's over $90,000 in engineering.
That's why we don't use them.
It's gonna be,
But there was,
it's gonna be about 94,000 when everything's all said and done, as far as the engineering.
but
phase
they
is
had
concerned.
to annex, they had to reclassify. And
We haven't had
still a
that
lot.
issue. Mm-hmm.
Ivan and Drosler with ISG. They're evidently not gonna use them anymore.
So the engineering's 10 times more than the project?
Go Jerry.
Well, it's the same. It's the same.
Oh, okay, it's nine, I thought you said 9,000.
No, they said it's 90,000.
90,000.
The engineering's 90,000.
And the project's 97.
Okay, all right.
So they're about
But the-
I thought it was
About
9,700 for the project.
Mm-mm.
And they're not done.
The engineering fees will go up
Okay,
to about 94,000 when everything is all said and done,
that's bad.
barring
I
contingencies.
was really thinking it was bad. 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Barring contingencies now. Okay, so there might be more, so.
So we just want to make sure we keep doing what we're doing.
I think we're doing great. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I like our process.
I do, and I like the engineering firm. I like all the people that I have to deal with.
I try not to recommend the engineering firm to anybody else because then we'll lose
I
their
know.
attention.
I know.
We want
So,
to keep them,
mm-hmm.
our little secret.
Right? Yeah, they've all been really good to deal with.
And they may be expanding some too. who knows?
Yeah. Anyway, that's all I know.
All right, yeah, everything, anybody else?
All right.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you for
Thank you
your
much.
support. Open forum.
Let's see. So this will be on the agenda next week. It's just some reading for you. I need you to sign that bill. I need you to sign that. Last one.
I was gonna say, well, why do I sign this? Bill was the chair.
No, it was for December 17th. It
Oh,
was adjourned to,
two, yeah.
yep.
Does that mean I'm still on the payroll for being chair?
I don't think so.
Ah, go ahead. What's more than one
Probably should make sure Chelsea switches that. You might still be on the payroll.
think that did happen once.
So this, yeah, here doesn't say what board we're on here. I mean, I know what it is because of, this here, but, I don't see on there anywhere where it's the second judicial district.
This one,
Okay.
it's just for their information.
They know who they are.
Yep.
Anything else for open forum?
I don't think so. The guy's name that does this is like Yelmar Patty or something, or Patty Yelmar or something.
Patty Yetmar is her name.
I woke
Her
up
name?
in the night thinking that name.
Really?
Yes. I don't know why. That's weird.
That is kind of, it is, well, it's kind of an interesting name, I guess.
Here you go. I can't help it.
Oh,
I totally understand.
you know, you just can't, you just wonder where drinks come from sometimes. I mean, it's just bizarre.
Her name's Patty.
Patty Yetmar.
It's spelled P-A-T-T-E-E.
I've heard that, yeah.
Really?
That's a strange derivation, but yes, it's there.
There's much more deviated version.
Alrighty then. Moving on.
Yes. I won't tell you about what.
Please
No,
don't.
no, it's not bad. No, it's not bad.
What would our meetings be without one of yours?
Yeah, all right, okay.
Terry.
Call Chris Colby, please.
A good
Hold on, we gotta get everybody in here.
good friend of mine,
Mike, get on the phone.
a good friend of mine's son, last May, had a buddy of his talked to him taking some fentanyl, and he died instantly. And my buddy and I went down like a couple of Rambos down to where the drugs came from and took care of everybody, kind of like, you know, Sylvester Stallone and the boys or whatever. But, it's just
This was your dream.
that was my dream, yeah.
You make that very clear too.
Yeah. And, you know, and it would be a dream in a sense.
Sounds like a movie.
Yeah, no, I think there have been a few made that way.
No, it's true.
We can't go on all this.
All right.
Colby.
7542. Just dial it.
Hello?
We're ready for your quarterly report.
Okay, I'll be in. Thanks.
Didn't you mention on this already?
Time must be flying by because I thought she was cute.
Well, I have a trivia question for you. But it could, some people would construe it, so I'll wait. You go ahead, Charles. It all depends on the individual receiving the information, where their mind is at. Approve. I don't know why we get these reports, I really don't.
I know. Procedure, I guess.
Yeah.
At least we get to see them all, you know.
I wonder if 55, 60, 70 years ago, if they actually came in and compared that to stuff in your office.
I don't know.
You know, because unless you have something to compare it to, it's worthless.
Yeah.
I guess it keeps you comprised.
I remember some of the numbers.
Yeah.
What bothers you is having to
You know the
trust
range.
No?
So
So-
you already made the motion, right?
Yep.
I'll second it.
Stand during the second derby to approve the recorder's quarterly report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's a big month for December.
Yeah, no, it was
That's your month.
It is.
a bigger number than it usually is.
If you don't have any questions, thank you.
That's about the only thing I noticed.
Okay.
I got a question. Let's just start at the top. Where'd this number come from?
You gotta go through it. Well, anytime you wanna come in and check it out, let me know.
You'll educate us.
Yep. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, consider for approval auditors quarterly report. Not so far.
I spend your money.
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's quarterly report.
Second. Motion Derby, second Stemser, to approve the auditor's quarterly report. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Consider for approval purchase of additional stone for the east entrance of the courthouse.
We've got a motion. There's no discussion, is there?
Yeah, I'll second it. I think the discussion goes back to last week when he explained it's that lower row there where it attaches to the concrete. And we're gonna grind it smooth so that it's easier to have a nice joint for the concrete.
Let's see, okay, and motion,
Both being Derry.
yeah, motion from Stemser and a second from Derby to approve the purchase of additional stone for the east entrance of the courthouse. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Discussion with possible action regarding the urban renewal plan.
So I don't know that we necessarily need action on it today, but I just wanted to show you what they sent me. Like I said, I just got it this morning, so I can email it out when I get back to my office.
Yeah, okay.
Why, let's see. We haven't made any motions so far, have we, on this? I don't think we have.
Not this part of it, we approved the resolution to approve the 60 days.
Yeah.
And we did,
Yeah.
So is there something we'll approve after the meetings with the,
yeah, I'm gonna send out, one of these is the letter that I need to send to the schools, and so I'll send that out today. And then,
so we won't take action until after those meetings with the other taxing entities?
yep, the public hearing, I gotta send the public hearing to the papers, and the public hearing will be on the 28th of January. And that's basically all
Okay.
that.
Did we set the public hearing? Maybe that's what we should do today.
What was,
The resolution did.
I think we did, but let me just double check. No, we have not set the public hearing. This is a resolution.
Board of Supervisors will also hold a public hearing on
Oh, no,
urban plan amendment
we did.
at 10 a.m. Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought we did.
Yeah.
January 28th, 2020.
So it's in the resolution.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, we've done that already.
All right.
I said I'll email those out after the meeting and send out the letters to the schools and stuff.
Make a motion to approve the semi-monthly county claims.
I'll second the motion.
Stemser and a second from Derby to approve the 7-monthly county claims. All in favor, say aye. We got a minute and a half, so we can discuss budgets, get that over.
Don't really have anything to discuss, I just put it on there just in case.
Oh, so it really would only take about that long.
Did you get the finals from Melissa?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm,
There was one question I had on the budgets, the revolving loan fund that they have, I gotta look on our sheets, is it listed in 00, the maximum amount that
Mhm.
can be loaned out in case everybody pays it back and we
Yep,
have to loan
there's
it all
two
back
hundred
out.
thousand sitting
Alright,
there.
alright.
Was there any changes? Cause I'm already done with the expenditures, but,
Well, I have a copy here. I printed off what she sent at 5 o'clock last night. She adjusted, just the interest receipts, so you can raise that up. You can just have it, let's make sure. What else? Yeah, oh, we have our public purpose policy passed in there too, so.
that'll be on the agenda here for next week.
Well, we'll go with the clock, it says start clock. Okay, number 3, 10 a.m. Dave Peterson, Sheriff, to discuss resolution for flag posting with possible action.
I think you guys all got a copy of this from Kelsey, and I'd like to thank her because she's the one that did the research on it. But this was taken verbatim out of the US code, and I think this is what we should adopt as a resolution for our county. I guess that's all I really have to say.
Yeah, that attachment is just straight from the US code, that section 7. It's sub M, which really applies to when you would lower the flag to half staff. And I think it's pretty clear cut in there.
At your recommendations, I would make a motion to approve the resolution, isn't it?
I'll second that.
Motion from Derby and a second from Stenzer to approve the resolution for flag posting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I'd also like to say thank you guys.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Not one word in there about drainage.
I was a little disappointed. Okay, I know you weren't in here for the drainage discussion, or is that your New Year's resolution? You're gonna start trying to quit, you know, or?
Actually, and I told Chris this, I walked down the steps and I saw Chris come in here and I thought, son of a gun. She was only in here for a second, walked out, and I thought, yeah. It's not a resolution, but it's not a bad one.
Well. We go number 15 for approval of payroll claims. Process of that, or should we just get number 16 out of the way while we're doing that? Just discuss budget, she said there wasn't any.
Did you ever put any numbers in yet? See where we're ending up?
I have, well, so the problem is that this is why we need new software. The connection between Eden and Encode is not working. So I had Chris add some revenue numbers for me, and they're not transferring into Eden. So I can't do anything with the revenue side until they get it fixed. So I've got all my expenditures done, but except for Melissa, she doesn't anymore. But I've got all the expenditures done, but I can't do revenue until they get the connection fixed between Eden and Encode. So I'm stuck right now, which doesn't make me happy.
It's kind of like road construction, it'll be better in a couple of years. We'll figure out all the problems by then. It'll really be nice when it's done.
But That's not always true about road construction either.
Sometimes it makes it too confusing.
Listen, look at the roundabouts in Minnesota, for example.
Wonderful.
But you know what? You are, it's like 90% more likely to be in an accident in a roundabout, but you're like 99% less likely to be in a major injury accident in a roundabout intersection.
I don't know, on YouTube, you see the cars just.
Oh,
You
yeah.
seen that?
Yeah.
I remember when they first put one in north of, was it Hutchinson, Minnesota? Going out of town there, and it was dark and rainy, and I'm coming up, and the blacktop's all dark, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the heck is that in front of me? You know, then you see the signs for it, slam on your brakes and go around the thing. And as I was going around it, I noticed the great big old tracks from some other semi that didn't see it all the way through there in the mud, and then he just left the trail. He kept going though, his truck must have took it pretty well.
Well, I don't drive a truck, but I have not yet seen a truck make that roundabout without jumping the curb.
I can do it.
Can you?
No, it's easy enough.
Okay.
But have you met some of the other guys, Jeff? I would have never guessed that I would be in a profession that I'm in the top 95, or the top 5%.
According to the Bill Jensvold survey.
Well, yeah. Well, according to me. I also read a study where how really intelligent or unintelligent people actually are so dumb they think they're smart. I'm really trying to apply that one to this. What do you think?
I just love it when there's a lull in the meeting.
It all comes back down to the fact that I can't decide whether I'm a underachieving genius or an overachieving idiot.
I think the reason why the people voted him in is so the YouTube broadcast could be a lot more entertaining.
Today's debate,
Roundabouts.
and Phil's deciding.
World according to Bill? Wasn't there a movie called that? World according to somebody.
Garb.
Yeah, there you go. That was it.
And that's what crosses another camera.
You know,
She has that look on her face like Tom Hanks did on Sunday night.
I've seen a few replays of, I don't know what the guy's name was, it was up there.
Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, there you go.
He's my new hero.
Yeah, they didn't think it was so funny when they got made fun of. Yeah, the Hollywood people.
Oh,
Their applause was sporadic.
Yeah.
I can't imagine watching that any more than I can watch.
I didn't, I just watched.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've only seen clips of it on the news, yeah.
I might watch drainage before I watch that. I don't know.
That's a bold statement.
It is a
You did have you coming over to the dark side.
Like I like to say, I'd rather sandpepper Mountain Lions rear end in a phone booth than watch that. Get a little picture of that one.
This is the part where Carla brings graphics up on the screen. Attachment number 3.
Oh, we can't, we haven't,
The proceeding is only the opinion of one person, not the rest of the board.
Exactly.
Have you apologized?
Should have a sign, you just hold up right there in front of the camera.
A permanent sign.
Exactly.
Watch at your own.
Right at risk.
Well, I'm pretty sure there is community. When they see us sitting here, they must just turn around, don't they?
Not really.
I've got a face for radio, I've always said that.
If you have incredible numbers of hits on YouTube about how to boil water, then Watching the three of you guys is nothing.
You see some of the stuff that, my kids show me something and I just look at them and I go, you know what, I feel like I just lost intelligence watching this. I haven't gotten even started.
I don't understand the kids, these like little kids, watch other kids play with toys.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I don't.
And those kids that are playing with the toys are making millions of dollars.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's the same
Yeah.
toys.
We have a guy here in Winnebago County that goes on and he deals with football. I'm not sure how it works, but that's how he's making his living, and he makes big bucks.
Wow.
It is amazing.
Videos?
Yes, yes. People, he's got 100,000 viewers that he's paid off of. And, you know,
That's what I tell them. I says, you know what, you just made that idiot a bunch of money by watching that. Or helping make, you know, I mean, it's just like,
how many of you did it? He's making a living off of it.
no, he's, the people that watch it are the
Oh,
knuckleheads.
yeah.
It's just like, why are you watching this? Because now this moron is gonna make money off of it.
Well, there's a lady in Joplin who was demonstrating vacuum cleaners. And so she wrote to all the vacuum cleaning companies that are out there, Dirt Buster, Hoover, everybody. Said, send me your vacuums so we can compare them. And she made a series of videos on them. And then she made a killing selling all the vacuums that they gave her in a garage sale. Just an absolute, so she was getting the money that way, plus she was getting the money selling the
And then
material.
every year she can update her.
Exactly. That's how she does it. And she has tons of followers.
That's why they call that the Missouri, or the,
Show me state, that's right. Show me how stupid you really are.
Show me how to make that kind of money.
I've spent weeks at a time down there delivering herbicide. And you do have to show them.
Mm-hmm. You got that right.
There's some of them, yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll claims.
I'll second that.
Motion Derby, second Spencer, to approve payroll claims. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Stand adjourned. Too late for everybody.
Hey, Dave!
Dave!
You guys come back here.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, I'm working on it.
Step in for a second.
Okay.